That deformed bud you noticed this morning? It didn't curl like that because of the weather. Something chewed the inside of it before it ever opened. Something that's been living in your rose for weeks, feeding on the youngest, most vulnerable tissue while the bud was still sealed shut, still trying to become a flower. You never saw it because it was never on the surface. It was inside. And right now, while you're reading this, its relatives are on the undersides of every new leaf that opened in the last 10 days. Not one or two. Dozens. Arranged in soft, pale clusters, barely visible unless you flip the leaf and hold it to light. Which, look, most of us never do. I didn't either. For 2 full seasons, I was treating the symptom and ignoring the colony, and every spray I bought at the garden center made the problem worse in ways I didn't understand until I actually sat down and learned what was living in my roses. Here's the thing. Your rose's problem almost certainly isn't a disease. It's almost certainly a pest. And the pest is almost certainly not where you've been spraying. Aphids are the obvious starting point because they're everywhere, right? But the reason most aphid treatments fail isn't the product, it's the location. Aphids cluster on the undersides of young leaves and on the soft green tissue just below the bud. They don't graze on open surfaces. They insert a needle-fine stylet into the phloem and drain the plant's sugar-rich sap. And while they're doing that, they excrete a sticky substance called honeydew that coats the leaves below them and invites fungal growth. That yellowing, that sticky residue, that black sooty mold developing on the upper surface of the leaves, that's the aftermath of an aphid colony working a full floor above where the mold is showing up. You spray the mold. The aphids watch from the underside and keep feeding. Spider mites are worse because they're smaller, genuinely hard to see without magnification, and they spin the finest, almost invisible silk across the undersides of leaves and in the angles where the leaf stem meets the branch. These are the axils, and they are the strongholds of infestation. If you see a fine webbing in those angles, stippled bronze or gray discoloration on the leaf surface, a kind of dusty dullness to leaves that used to be glossy, that's mites. They pierce the leaf cells individually, thousands of times across a single leaf, collapsing the chlorophyll structure from below. The leaf looks stressed. It looks like a watering problem. It is not a watering problem. Leaf-rolling caterpillars are the ones that genuinely alarm me because of how methodical they are. They spin silk to fold a young leaf into a tight tube and live inside it, feeding, protected, completely invisible from the top, sealed into their own little habitat with your rose's youngest tissue. You'll see the roll before you see the insect. If you gently unroll one, and I mean gently with a thumbnail, there'll be a small green caterpillar inside, sometimes 2, often with small dark pellets of frass that are basically undeniable evidence. These larvae eat from the inside of the fold outward, and they do it fast. And then there are the beetles. Japanese beetles or rose chafers, depending on where you are, and they are the least subtle pest on this list. They skeletonize petals, chew through buds before they open, and they feed in groups because they release aggregation pheromones that actively recruit. The damage looks dramatic because it is, but the larvae are in the soil at the base of the plant, and no surface spray touches them. If you're already mentally walking toward your garden right now, wait. Subscribe first, because the second half of this formula is what most people skip, and it's exactly why their first application didn't work. The delivery mechanism matters as much as the active ingredients. You'll see why in about 60 seconds. Okay, here's the solution, and I want to explain what each ingredient actually does, because once you understand the mechanism, you'll never go back to guessing at the garden center. You need 2 containers. Start with 1 liter of water. Room temperature, not cold, because the active compounds in the next 2 ingredients dissolve more readily with a little warmth. Add 1 teaspoon of garlic powder and watch the water shift to a pale yellow-brown. That color is your confirmation that the allicin compounds are dissolving into solution. These compounds, and this is the part that still gets me, they don't repel insects through scent the way we casually describe it. They disrupt chemoreceptors. Insects navigate their world almost entirely through chemical signals. They find food, mates, and safe laying sites through receptor systems that garlic compounds actively interfere with. A rose treated with garlic solution becomes, to an aphid or a mite, a place that gives wrong information. Confusing, hostile on a neurological level. They don't know why they don't want to be there. They just don't want to be there. Add 1 teaspoon of cinnamon powder to the same container and stir slowly. Cinnamon's active compound, cinnamaldehyde, is genuinely antifungal, which addresses that sooty mold and the powdery mildew that often follows a heavy aphid infestation. But it also has contact toxicity for soft-bodied insects. Not overwhelming, not instant, but meaningful as part of a system. And I cannot stress this enough. Strain this mixture through a fine cloth or coffee filter before you add it to a spray bottle. The residue from the garlic and cinnamon will clog your nozzle and reduce your coverage to essentially nothing. The straining step is not optional. It's the difference between a mist and a dribble. Now, your second container. This is the emulsion, and this is the part most people skip. 60 milliliters of white vinegar. And the reason for vinegar is specific. Most soft-bodied insects, spider mites especially, are protected by a waxy cuticle layer that acts as a moisture barrier and physical shield. That waxy coating is literally what keeps them alive in heat, and the vinegar strips it in seconds. Acid degrades the wax, the insect loses its protection, and the active compounds in the garlic solution can now penetrate. Add 1 tablespoon of cooking oil. This is what makes the solution adhere. Oil clings to plant surfaces and to insect bodies far longer than a water-based spray, extending contact time dramatically. Then add 2 tablespoons of dish soap. The soap emulsifies the oil. It binds the oil and water together, so instead of separating, they distribute evenly across every surface you spray. Without the soap, the oil beads. With the soap, it spreads. And soap itself, on direct contact with an aphid or mite, suffocates. It blocks the spiracles they breathe through. Combine both containers into 1 spray bottle. The garlic and cinnamon compounds now distribute through an emulsified carrier that adheres to surfaces, strips protective coatings, and extends contact time. Every ingredient is doing something real. Now, the application, because technique here is genuinely the difference between success and another week of damage. Spray in the late afternoon or very early morning, not midday, not under direct summer sun. Heat accelerates the breakdown of the active compounds before they can work, and oil on a stressed, heat-exposed leaf will scorch it. You're already fighting an infestation. Don't add phytotoxic damage. Cover the full canopy. And when I say full, I mean it specifically. Undersides of every leaf. The leaf axils, the soft tissue below every bud. The angles where stems branch. These are the actual hiding places. Spraying only the top surface of visible leaves is how the colony survives your spray and rebuilds in 2 days. For an active infestation, apply daily until you see no new damage and no visible pest activity. Then drop to every 3 days as a preventive maintenance schedule. The biology doesn't forgive gaps. A single surviving colony will rebuild. Right now, there are plants recovering in my garden that looked genuinely hopeless 2 weeks ago. Leaves that were silver with mite damage, buds that were dropping before they opened, stems sticky with honeydew. What changed wasn't a chemical. It was understanding where the infestation actually was and why the solution needed to reach it. Before you go, drop a comment and tell me which pest you're dealing with right now. Aphids, caterpillars, beetles, or something worse. I want to know.